Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now February 3rd of 2025, and the Meghan Markle drama continues, and it's only getting worse over time, week by week, both internally and in the public eye. We know that Meghan Markle is creating a lot of problems, not just for the Netflix CEO Greg Peters, but also the many executives over there, along with the board of directors now, in which originally they, in the majority, were all on her side. Now we're witnessing more and more members beginning to switch and or going on the fence on whether or not they're standing with Meghan. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing is for sure about this new series with Love Meghan, which is due to release in early March now instead of January last month when it was delayed because of everything else going on with the LA fires. That's exactly what she and they use that actual opportunity to essentially delay this series, which I thought was a very terrible thing to do. They just used a disaster to delay a series, which, by the way, was already filmed, fully edited, and all set and ready to go. There was no need to delay this thing, period, the end. And there's also many other factors as to why they did that. We'll talk about that later. But interestingly enough, this is where things begin to get very interesting when it comes down to Meghan Markle, because she recently got in a lot of trouble with Netflix, with the heads over at Netflix, right? The studio executives over there that are now in a state of panic, trying to really put this thing together, trying to really salvage this project because of how much backlash it's receiving and how really embedded it really is within the news cycle, and it's really just not going away. If anything, this backlash is only in an incline right now. It's not declining at all. So let's jump into this. Now, with, of course, the Meghan Markle drama now getting out of control, both behind the scenes and in the public eye, one monumental development going on now involves how Meghan recently got in serious trouble with the Netflix CEO Greg Peters and, surprisingly, the majority of the board of directors who, for the most part, have been on her side. A crucial update to this scenario now involves how Meghan recently went on a tirade with some of the board members that were against her from day one, where she got involved in a heated argument after they cut back on their funds for the marketing campaign by a whopping, get this, $5 million. Which will mean less promotional work like commercials, ads, etc., for the With Love Meghan series. Now, Markle responded to this erratic behavior, or with erratic behavior, to the point where she was blaming the board of directors as incompetent, misguided, along with being very unprofessional with their setbacks, and engaging in sexism and misogyny based on how the funds for the show were cut back by millions. As a result, the members of the board that have been on Meghan's side as a response decided to cancel two major events. Now, this is where it gets very interesting, that were going to promote the series after Meghan went off the rails. This included a one-on-one interview with Vanity Fair that was going to be done on video that was best described as a crucial interview that was planned to be roughly 20 minutes long in length, promoting the series. The Netflix executives have already informed Vanity Fair that they are not moving ahead with that important interview anymore, and that all of those arrangements have been cancelled. In addition to that, they also cancelled Meghan Markle's appearance for The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to promote With Love Meghan. This was another very important appearance that Meghan was going to make sometime during the end of February that is now officially axed. This was a move to get more Americans to watch the show. And though she is still scheduled to appear on Jimmy Kimmel Live, the Netflix executives are moving ahead to also cancelling that appearance. So, look, let me just say one thing before we move on. It's one thing to have her go on Jimmy Fallon. It's another thing, the fact that they were going to put her on Jimmy Kimmel Live. I think that just speaks volumes, because Jimmy Kimmel is the very person that's going to have Rachel Zegler on his show in a couple of weeks from now to promote Snow White. I mean, this is typical, studio behavior. This is what Disney does, and this is now what Netflix is doing, essentially, to put her only on Kimmel or Fallon. And it's not a big shocker out there. And Vanity Fair, I mean, let's not forget about them, but this is where it gets really, really juicy, alright? So, they are also demanding to specific trades and news organizations to not ask certain questions about the backlash and controversy surrounding With Love Meghan if, and only if, Meghan gets caught in the public eye, when she is actually seen in certain events. The plan by the board and the executives is to essentially keep Meghan Markle away from the public eye, or at any events. Her one major appearance that is still planned is the 2025 Oscars. Netflix is now working hard to rearrange those plans by canceling her appearance at the Oscars, though that has not been finalized just yet by the majority of the board. Now, Markle's appearances are now reportedly down by 70% for promoting the show with Love Meghan. Now, before I get to the real conclusion about this is where it gets interesting too, is that we already know that Meghan Markle is really all about staying in the limelight. She is very much an attention seeker. She loves being at the center of attention, and you can only imagine how much of an impact this is having on her to lose all these opportunities as a response from Netflix. They don't want her on Vanity Fair. They don't want her on the two Jimmys. They don't also want her at the Oscars of 2025. That's very, very revealing about how much they just do not want to have her on television. They don't want her to be asked a lot of questions, especially if you're at an event like the Oscars, for example, when you're on the red carpet, getting caught by correspondents asking everything about the show. But I digress. Already, Markle is panicking about this new direction to keep her out of the public eye on video, and essentially is getting the Disney treatment in what they did to Rachel Zegler for Snow White. Netflix is now in full-on desperation mode to save the show by keeping Meghan away from answering the wrong questions or saying the wrong things in public, and to limit her going into news cycles, which is the ultimate plan. So, look, I mean, that is their ultimate plan. They do not want her to say the wrong things. They don't want her to say anything at all because of how unlikable she truly is. I think that they're finally beginning to realize just how universally rejected Meghan Markle truly is, not just in the States, but around the entire globe, alright? The UK, most of all, for sure. But we already know that there's a lot of things going on with Love Meghan, alright? The show is going through some re-edits right now. They're cutting back some scenes, they're taking some scenes out of there that just really failed on an abysmal level for 2 test screenings, as it is for episodes 1 through 4. And we'll have a lot more to talk about that, by the way. We kind of touched on that, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, give or take. But this is a very interesting movement by Netflix. The fact that Greg Peters, was the first to have a lot of criticism about Meghan Markle, and he gave the board of directors a heads up about how much of a disaster this was going to be based on the plans for the show. And they just kind of shoved them away. They said, you know what, we're standing our ground, we're focusing on this project. You don't have a say in this. And here we are, it is February 3rd of 25, and now this show, by the board of directors, they are rejecting Meghan Markle from having any appearances on television, live or pre-recorded material, whatever it may be. They don't want her actually answering anything for this series on any major network or anything like that. So that's a real telltale sign that slowly but surely the board of directors, one member at a time, are beginning to wake up about all this nonsense that nobody wants to see Meghan Markle doing all this inauthentic stuff in a show about her cooking and interacting with bees and all of this weird nonsense that just makes absolutely no sense at all. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.